My name is Craig with Lazy Tech Reviews, and I'm here to review the X40 Ultra today from Dreame. I've had this robot since of November of 2024, so it's been over a year now, and it's been, it's worked really well for us. When my wife and I now have 3 dogs, so we really needed something that could keep up with all the hair and really kind of like keep the floors clean as much as possible, because you have different animals trekking in and out throughout the day. So having that really helps. So we decided to check out the Dreame back, over a year ago, and we've been really enjoying it. Okay, so for me, I kind of want to talk about the features that I really like about the Dreame X40 Ultra is I really like the obstacle avoidance. It does a really good job with like navigating the house. I was really impressed with just how detailed it can get. Now it's a couple years behind. Now we do have the X60 Ultra out, which has more improved lidar and vision and all that kind of stuff like that. So it's maybe not as good as stuff that's been out last year or so now that just recently came out. But it's done, like, compared to what I came from, it's been a real game changer. Before moving to this unit, I was on Roombas, and so I was using I think it was the S40, and I apologize if I'm saying that incorrectly. It worked fine. When I first got it, I didn't love it, but it was better than what I was using previously, which was an older version of the Roombas that didn't have any navigation, where it didn't save any of the maps. So the nice part with the Roomba is that it did save maps, and you can kind of control where it wanted to go, and so it did a pretty good job. But again, the biggest thing was obstacle avoidance. It really could not avoid the cords and different things that might be on the ground. And so you always have to make sure you go and clean up the room before letting it go out and stuff. So I guess that's an incentive maybe to keep your house a little more clean when you have something like that. But it just became a headache because you forget you have a cord on the ground, or maybe you have a computer desk that does have the cords sitting in the background. So, and then it starts wrapping up with that. So that was one of the things that really kind of attracted us, is not having to worry about the cords laying out. And there's obviously been a couple times it has gotten a cord, maybe it doesn't recognize it right away or not. But that has been really nice with the different navigation. Then I would say the mopping too. So this was my first kind of dual system between the vacuum and mop that I've had. Again, previously when I went into the kind of the mopping and vacuuming, I had to get a separate unit from Roomba. So I think it was the Brava, and I used that probably 3 or 4 times. So I didn't really get a lot of use out of it. I really didn't like it. I didn't think it worked really well. I just think it was more of a hassle than anything, because you'd have to constantly refill the water chamber. And then I was worried about okay, can I use this solution or not use the solution? It just didn't, to me, it wasn't a good setup. And so I like the idea behind it, is that you vacuum and then you can start mopping. But it just, I think from an execution standpoint, it just wasn't good. So what I really do like is that you can schedule this to vacuum, then mop, or some people have, it does both, so vacuum and mop at the same time. Personally, I prefer it to vacuum, and then once it's done vacuuming, then it goes out and mops. That's typically how we do it. So like I said, we have it running twice a day. In the morning, we will have it clean. It'll vacuum and mop our kitchen, and then it just vacuums the living room and hallway that we have. But every Mondays and Fridays, so twice a week, we actually have it do a full vacuum and mop of our kitchen, hallway, and living room area. So I have used the Clean Genius, which is really nice. What I really like is it seems like it uses the AI and gets help with kind of the obstacle avoidance, and just has kind of a better detail with doing the cleaning. But yeah, so you can do that a couple different ways. You could either have it vacuum and mop at the same time, or again, vacuum then mop. So preferably, I like it to do that kind of. So the nice part is that the robot has its pads here, which can detach, so they can leave at the base station. I really like that. I like that it leaves them at the base station. Doesn't need to navigate, bring them around. From my understanding, it can actually, it'll raise them. So if we don't have a lot of carpet in our house, but but if you do, it will raise, so you don't have to worry about it like dragging on the carpet. But personally, that you don't have to worry about that. I would go ahead and just leave it back on the base station when you're not no longer needing to mop anymore. And so I don't know. I think it's a really kind of slick device. I'm really interested in kind of seeing where the future of these go. They are improving all the time. They have different brands coming out with different type of features and functioning. And I'm really curious to see, with the AI being more integrated in these devices, how they'll kind of solve, different navigations and, day and time, and what else they can do with AI system side of it. So I think that's kind of the cool part. So yeah, I really like kind of the navigation, like kind of the AI assistance, and I really like kind of just that it's built kind of, and then it does have the LED. So the my other systems, so you always, a lot of times tell you you need to have the lights turned on and everything like that. So I didn't really like that you had to essentially keep your house lit. So the nice part, and I'm sure it still prefers that, but the nice part with the robot itself, it does have an LED light on here, which is located right here. And so the nice part is that if the room is dark or it doesn't have enough light, it will turn that light on and be able to help it navigate better. So that makes a little more, gives you a little more flexibility of kind of when you want to run the robot. So if you want to run it at the middle of the night while you're sleeping, you can have it do so and not have all the lights on and everything like that. So I think that's nice. So I think like the features, I think, just really getting you kind of, flexibility of your day. That's kind of really what I really kind of enjoy about the system. It's like I said, it's a really great robot. It works really well. I think the LiDAR works great. I love like the application too. So I'm gonna put this back in here. With the application, like it helps you kind of, there's a lot of settings and things to modify. You can enable a bunch of things or disable, have it be very minimal if you want. So what I really do like is you can kind of see the status of what the robot's doing, where it's at, where it's cleaning. Again, with the previous robots that I was using, and I apologize, it was the S9 Plus with iRobot, you couldn't really see where it was at currently vacuuming at. So this gives you a good idea where your kind of robot sitting from the timeline of doing the clean session and everything like that. So I really like that. And then again, like it updates in real time, and you can kind of easily choose how to, like where you want to have things go out and vacuum. So it really, I think it's nice. And then it also will give you like I said, you can go in there and kind of adjust the optical avoidance. You can go also, a nice part is you have the ability to sit there and you can adjust the water level. So depending on how much water you want being dispensed when you're having it mop, you can choose those in there. So that's a nice feature. So now kind of going over like things I don't really maybe care for the robot, and I would say I like it more. There's things I like more than I don't like about it, but there's definitely things I think it could improve on. And like I said, this is an older generation, so now they just released the X60, which is now people are just now getting. I think it just shipped out. So they've tackled a lot of different things here, and so this doesn't really qualify for probably newer versions, but just kind of for this version itself, kind of reflects on it. So going into the Clean Genius, and I think this is still the case for newer models, it doesn't allow you to use Clean Genius for just vacuuming. You have to have a mopping session in order to utilize Clean Genius, which kind of, for me, kind of defeats the purpose of having kind of like an AI system, because I don't see you needing to mop every time you're sending the robot out. I mean, I think you're going to want to vacuum more than you're going to mop, but I guess that's just me. But so I don't like that I can't just use Clean Genius and just vacuum like a room or my house and stuff like that. So because again, from my understanding with Clean Genius, you have more advanced AI capabilities built into that. So you're having to if you want to do a vacuum session, you kind of have to use the dumbed down version a little bit, if you will. It still works just fine. I mean, I have it running like this like pretty much all day long, so it's really not an issue. I just kind of like, if you're kind of advertising to have these features like Clean Genius, I would really like be able to use it without needing to always go mopping. So, but when I do use obviously Clean Genius, I'm gonna vacuum, then I'm gonna mop. So that usually I find to be a better preference, but it depends on kind of your speedy. If you're trying to get things kind of clean up quickly, then you're gonna probably mop and vacuum at the same time. The other thing that I can sometimes get annoyed with the system is the app. The app is actually pretty good, needs additional improvements. I've noticed like there's been features that have been there and then they go away. So I feel like Dreame goes in and adjusts the settings from you when they do like firmware updates. So you don't always, so you kind of, you see something that's there, then when you go in to try to readjust it or make a basic change, it's no longer there. So I find that they do seem to remove certain things from you, which seems kind of weird to me. And so you don't always have that flexibility. So the app can be a little confusing when initially setting up, when you're like setting up the rooms and everything like that. It's not always the most straightforward in my opinion. I feel like they could probably use some extra work on the app to make it a little more intuitive and allow you to adjust and kind of to set up the rooms how you want them. Like it took me forever when I was working with it to figure out how to actually change the names. I had to watch a bunch of videos and I felt really dumb, and it was, if I remember now, it's pretty simple, but it wasn't the most intuitive, and you had to go into different menus to make it happen. And yeah, so I think their app could potentially use an overhaul in my opinion, to kind of be a little more user-friendly and intuitive. But overall it does work well. It gives you good features and stuff like that, but I personally would like to see maybe an overhaul or just kind of rework and kind of retool it a little bit. Yeah, and so, I mean, for this, so part of the problem too, then, obviously you have the LiDAR, which some of the newer models now have the LiDAR that raises and lowers. This one obviously does not, and it's pretty common now. This is kind of the general shape and look of a robot like this, which will have the LiDAR like on top here. So I am definitely interested in trying one of the newer models that does have it lower and raise. That way it can get underneath stuff. So sometimes it just doesn't get underneath things that I feel like it should be able to. And I think this is part of it. And sometimes it just doesn't want to go under there and maybe just can't see. And so it would be nice to have that lowered. And again, that's fixed in the newer models with the flagship like the X50 and 60. So I'm definitely curious to try that out and see how it works. But yeah, sometimes I think it's just a little bit too thick where it just can't get underneath everything like you'd like it to. So again, X60 does have, if you're interested in kind of a thinner, more robust model, the X60 Ultra that just came out is thinner, and it has a LiDAR that does raise and lower. So that's kind of a nice thing to have. Unfortunately, this doesn't have that option. Yeah, and then I guess there's, I would say also for me, just being a pet owner, having 3 dogs and hair everywhere, and this is kind of the whole point that we're utilizing this is to prevent that. The dog hair does seem to get kind of caught underneath like a lot of like the chassis and stuff like that. And unfortunately, I can't, without breaking the warranty, which I don't really want to do, just in case something happens with this unit, I can't easily access it. So I wish it could be a little bit more user-friendly, or not user-friendly, just like accessible to like get to like to certain areas, so I can actually maybe pop off some of these covers where I don't have to actually break the warranty seal. So hopefully they can maybe think of that, or find a better way, or maybe if they can give me the option to take this wheel. I can't take this wheel out for whatever reason without actually removing this cover on the top here. Like I said, overall, I really enjoy it. I think it works a really great product. I think it keeps our house clean. We run it multiple times a day. Honestly, at the price point where it's now, I think you can get it at like around 800, maybe lower. It's actually a really good system to come into if you're really looking to get something that's good value and can let you kind of keep up with your house and clean it. So I would really recommend the X40 Ultra from Dreame. It's a great model. It works well. They're very, I think, if they did have any kinks initially on when it was first released, I think they worked out a lot of it. Rarely do I see any issues. Like I said, the mapping works very well for me. Sometimes just the obstacle avoidance not always the greatest, but generally it's not an issue. I'm trying to think here. Yeah, so I would say, yeah, if you're really in the market and you're kind of not wanting, unfortunately, with the newer models, you're looking at, I think, like around $1,600 for the X60, and then I think it's maybe $1,000 for the X50. So I'd have to look again how much this is, but it's a lot cheaper, and a great time to come in, like look for these is around like Black Friday. So they do have they have a lot of good deals and stuff like that. I think this was $500 last Black Friday, so that was a pretty good deal. So yeah, I definitely would recommend the X50 or just Dreame in general. I think they have really good products. I'm very curious to kind of see they kind of have like their flagship brands. I think they have like the L series. I can't remember other ones they have, which to me they seem about the same, but I think it's just maybe they may not have as advanced features as like the X series. So, but yeah, like I said, if you're in the market and you want like a good stable robot that actually works really well, I definitely highly recommend the X40 Ultra. And yeah, if you have any questions, please, just reach out to me and I feel free to answer. Again, I'm looking to really build up my channel here. I would love to be able to test, different Dreame robots, the different like Roborock. Let's see, we have here like the Narwhal. Yeah, I want to go ahead and like try all of them if possible. So unfortunately, it is pricey. So that'd be one of those things where I think, if I can kind of build a like viewership and kind of branding, and I can help actually maybe be able to work with these companies where they can maybe send me like test units that I can actually test out and kind of review for them. That would help me out in that way. And then I also really want to get into the robotic lawnmowers that are coming out nowadays. I used to watch those, very interested in them, but they're all using like the guide wire and stuff like that. So they weren't the most accessible, I feel like, and I feel like there's a lot of installation setup. But the last couple of years, they've actually released some really nice models that don't really require, certain setups. They really do. They rely heavily on they rely using these RTK kind of towers, antennas. But actually, and kind of like, I don't know, Dreame is coming out with a unit that no longer doesn't need that. It's purely vision based. And so I'm very curious to kind of see how that works. I have like an acre long, so I think, my lawn could be a really good kind of test case for those different type of machines. So that's kind of what I'm hoping for this channel is I really want to test kind of these robotic products that we would use within, our households or outside. So like the vacuum cleaners, the mops, and then, like the lawnmowers and anything else that's kind of coming to the market, these days. So I think it's really interesting. I think, they're coming with different pricing. The nice part too is like these things kind of blowing up like this, they're becoming more competitive. So they have to kind of come in at a cheaper price point. So I'm hoping that we can see, like the X40, X60, X60, under $1,000 versus now looking at like $1,600 when they first launched, which, it's fair enough. I mean, there's a lot of technology packed into it, but you also kind of think about it. You're not going to upgrade to a new robot vacuum mop cleaner every year, several months or whatever. So you're going to really utilize them. So I definitely recommend this, but like I said, I want to go ahead and I really want to build up this channel. And, hopefully, if you really like what you're seeing here, newer to this, so it's going to definitely take me some time to kind of get more comfortable with kind of how to camera set up and kind of getting things that also help me if I can, get better gear. I think it'll help me be more confident in building these videos and kind of presenting these reviews for you all. So please like and subscribe, and feel free to leave any comments and kind of any suggestions of kind of like things you might like to see me review. If there's anything out there that you've been really kind of wanting an eye on, keep an eye on, then we'd like to kind of work with. So yeah, thanks for joining us and have a great night.